We're back for another edition of the KC Football Fix podcast, where we cover the latest Kansas City Chiefs news. I'm your host, Luke Gromer, the founder of KC Football Fix, and I'm joined by KC Football Fix contributor Josh Willis. Today on the podcast, we preview Super Bowl 58 and dive into the numbers you need to know, the Chiefs' keys to victory, and some funny Super Bowl stories, and more on today's episode of the KC Football Fix podcast. Welcome to the KC Football Fix podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure to hit subscribe and leave us a 5-star rating and review wherever you listen. And don't forget to subscribe to the KC Football Fix newsletter so you can get all the latest Chiefs news summarized into a 3-minute read and delivered to your email inbox every weekday morning during the season and a couple of times a week in the off-season for free. Not only do we give you all the latest Chiefs news, but we love to give away tickets, memorabilia, gear, and more to our subscribers. Go to kcfootballfix.com or click the link in the show details to join more than 4,000 other Chiefs fans that get their daily fix of Chiefs news all in one place for free. Josh, we're here. It's Super Bowl week. The Chiefs play in Super Bowl 58 in just a couple days, their fourth Super Bowl in 5 years. Tell me how you're feeling.
You know, I'm a little bit concerned with my lack of fear about the game. Like I don't know if I've ever felt this confident about a Chiefs game or a Chiefs Super Bowl, which is probably a bit unfounded, but I was way more nervous going into the Ravens game than I am this game.
Yeah, it's also weird because it doesn't feel like that big of a deal now. It's like, oh yeah, and just another Super Bowl. They're there again. And, you know, Mahomes and all the guys will say you can't take it for granted. But I feel like I'm taking it a little bit for granted. And then I'm like, yeah, they're there and they'll totally be back again. Which if I had to bet everything I have on me that they would be back in another Super Bowl with Mahomes as a quarterback, then I would totally do that. Yeah, it's funny though. It's like you're in the midst of, they keep going back. They're so freaking good. Mahomes is so freaking good. And
well, especially I'm surrounded by a bunch of Cowboys fans living in Dallas, and they're all just constantly disappointed. Like it really does feel weird to just expect to be here. And every year I'm just like, why wouldn't we be in the Super Bowl? We have the best quarterback to ever play the game of football.
It's true. And before we get into Super Bowl talk, numbers that you guys need to know, I thought that the best place to start this podcast episode was with a short story about the first time in my lifetime that Josh and I witnessed the Chiefs playing in the Super Bowl 54 against the San Francisco 49ers. Back in what year was that? 2020? And a quick story about what helped the Chiefs win that game. It's a surprising story that you haven't heard of, and I want to tell it to you right now. The Chiefs were down in that game.
I'll just say it is pretty surprising that this isn't talked about more in the national media.
Yeah, it didn't make it out there, but hopefully it does after this. The Chiefs are down 20-10 midway through the fourth quarter, actually past midway through the fourth quarter. And most people think that the moment that turned around the Chiefs Super Bowl was 23 jet ship Wasp, the big 3rd and 15 throw to Tyreek Hill. And it's just a common misconception because actually the moment that turned around the game was around the 7-minute mark. Josh was watching the Super Bowl at my house and decided that he needed to go to the bathroom. And Josh went to the bathroom, and in my home, there is a half bath that when the door is open has a clear view of the television in the living room.
I would not say clear. I definitely had to do a
partial view.
A partial view. Yeah.
And I don't know if Josh just needed to relieve himself because of stress and he had to go potty or he was just washing his hands. I don't really remember, but I know that Josh ended up in the bathroom before Wasp happened. Josh is in the bathroom, Wasp happens, and immediately myself and the other people watching that Super Bowl turned around and said, Josh, stay there. You are not coming out of that bathroom. Don't you even think about it. And that was the moment that everything changed because Josh, like a true Chiefs fan, did not come out of that bathroom for the remainder of the football game. As we all know, the Chiefs go on to score 3 touchdowns in the last 6.5 minutes of that game and win 31-20. And I think, Josh, I just want to applaud you for the crucial role that you played in that Super Bowl by watching from my bathroom to make sure that the Chiefs secured that comeback victory. So thank you.
You're welcome. And I'm not going to say that I'm the reason the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, but we all have to make sacrifices. We all have to do things that we don't want to do in order for success to happen. And I was willing to make that sacrifice so that my good friend Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes could win their first Super Bowl together.
Yeah.
And by good friend, I mean I've never met them, but hope to one day be friends with them.
Yeah, and we weren't superstitious, but we were just a little stitious.
A little
And
stitious.
yeah. So with that, I'm looking forward to Super Bowl 58, a rematch with the Niners. Unfortunately, Josh and I will not be in the same house watching it. If we were, he would definitely be in the bathroom again, just because that was good luck. But we're looking forward to another Super Bowl with some memories. So with that, let's talk about it. Super Bowl 58. The Chiefs have been in Vegas. And Josh, give me your initial reaction to anything that's come out of Vegas thus far. Opening night was Monday. They've been practicing the last couple of days. Tons of media availability. We'll get to some of the dumbest questions asked later. Your thoughts on the Chiefs right now?
Specific thoughts on the Chiefs is like just have no worry. They're walking in so confident, so cool, calm, and collected. Like you can see, I forget where I read this, but one of the reporters asked some of the of our own O linemen, Donovan Smith and Jawan Taylor, about Nick Bosa's comments on they hold a lot. And I think it was a tweet where it said, you can see Andy Reid flashing in front of their eyes before they answer. And the Chiefs are cool, calm, and collected. They're not talking any smack. They're just embracing it and letting the talk come to them. Meanwhile, our dear friends over in San Francisco have had a lot of things to complain about. I'm going to steal this term from the KC Sports Network guys. I was listening to one of their podcasts earlier today, calling them the San Francisco 40 whiners, because they have been complaining about the status of their practice field, saying it's not good enough. They've been complaining about the Chiefs holding. I mean, so many things. They're just finding all sorts of things to complain about. So definitely some talk going on from the 40 whiners sideline, and seems like a lot of excuses.
Yeah, it's funny. When I talked with Dwayne Bowe the other week and interviewed him about his experience playing with the Chiefs before and after Andy Reid, one of the things he mentioned was that Andy Reid is so good about training his players to be good in the media and to say the right things and to not give other teams any bulletin board material. And yeah, not only is Nick Bosa making those comments, but their owner, Jed York, their owner, is talking about how on that Wasp play, yeah, I remember Nick Bosa getting held on that play. Just like, man, what an interesting mindset to be putting out there in front of the biggest game in your franchise, right? Like, yeah, I was surprised. Like, an Andy Reid coach team is not going to do that.
Hey, don't get me wrong. I'm all about complaining about things that I wish would have happened better in my high school sports career that would have led me to playing in the NFL today. But come on. Yeah, I don't remember the name of the 49ers owner, but like it was 4 years ago. Like let go of it.
Jed York.
What a guy.
What a whiner.
What a something.
Yeah. On that note, one thing that I do think is worth at least mentioning, I don't want to talk about it too much. I think Mahomes addressed it well, but Patrick Mahomes Sr., father of Chiefs star quarterback Patrick Mahomes, was arrested on Saturday night in Tyler, Texas, for a DWI, driving while intoxicated, and it is at least the third occurrence of this for Patrick Mahomes Sr. Previously, I believe it was in 2019, he received his second DWI. He actually had to serve 40 days in jail that they allowed him to serve on weekends in 2019 and 2020. And yeah, it was a breaking story on Sunday afternoon. Reporters asked Mahomes about it in the opening night press conferences. And essentially Patrick's response was, it's a family matter and going to keep it private and keep it that way, which I thought was obviously Mahomes is really good with the media as well and gets a lot of questions. But yeah, respected his response on that. It is a thing. Personally, I don't think that Mahomes will really let that impact or affect him going into this week. But your thoughts, Josh?
Yeah, I think things like that can affect us even a little bit. So, I think at least during practice, it'll show up in the way Mahomes is playing. But by the time Sunday comes around, I think he's going to be locked in. But it's just, the man's family won't give him a break. First you got Jackson, now you got his dad. They're just constantly, they need to take Andy Reid's media coaching class, honestly, and just doing things to not give other people bulletin board, because while the Chiefs aren't doing it, Patrick Mahomes' family sure is giving other teams a lot of bulletin board material.
Yeah, and hope that Patrick Mahomes Sr. gets some help, because that's a serious thing. Driving while
Yeah.
intoxicated, not good. So dangerous, harms people, kills people, and danger to himself and others. So yeah, I hope he gets help and that can be put behind him. And yeah, it sucks for Patrick Mahomes the second that he's got to even answer and address those questions at this point and at this stage. So hopefully it's not something that impacts him or his play at all. With that, let's get into some numbers that you need to know for this Super Bowl. One of the things that I was the most curious to look into ahead of this Super Bowl matchup is the defensive lines on both sides. Looking at pressure rates, and particularly we know that Steve Spagnuolo loves to dial up the blitz. We'll get into some of those numbers. But one of the other interesting things, and I believe, Josh, you talked about this on the podcast last week, is that Brock Purdy has actually been one of the best quarterbacks in the league against the blitz this year. And so I don't expect Steve Spagnuolo to not blitz because of that. It is very much who he is. I see him staying true to that. However, I do think some of these numbers are interesting on both sides to get a little feel for what Mahomes may experience, and then obviously what Spagnuolo may send at Brock Purdy. So blitz percentage. San Francisco blitzes on 18% of snaps. That's the third fewest in the NFL. So expect to see the 49ers sitting back in coverage a lot. Obviously, Nick Bosa is a pretty dominant defensive end that will get after the quarterback even when they're not blitzing. But the 49ers don't blitz a lot. The Chiefs blitz on 32.9% of their snaps, almost 30%. That's the seventh most in the NFL. This next stat I thought was really interesting as well, the hurry percentage. So how often do these defensive lines hurry the quarterback, force them to get the ball out quickly? San Francisco, 5.4% of snaps, which is the sixth worst in the NFL. However, the Chiefs' hurry percentage is 9.8%, which is the third best in the NFL. San Francisco was 10th in the league with 48 sacks. The Chiefs were second with 57. Pressure rate, San Francisco was 17th with 21%, and the Chiefs were second with 27.8%. That's a high percentage. 30% of snaps, the Chiefs are getting pressure on the quarterback. And maybe one of the most interesting numbers I came across was actually Chase Daniel on NFL Network talked about this, that the 49ers center, right guard, and right tackle combined are 30th in pressure rate. And that's the side of the line that Chris Jones and George Karlaftis will probably go up against for majority of the Super Bowl. Shout out to Franz and V on Twitter for sharing that. That was an interesting stat. Obviously, Jason Williams, right? Their left tackle. Wow, I'm blanking on his name. Trent Williams. I'm sorry. I knew it was Trent Williams, one of the best left tackles in NFL history. Oh, by the way, I think he's 41 years old. That's insane. And
no, he's not 41. That's that left tackle plays for the Eagles, I believe. Trent Williams is 32.
You're right. I'm an idiot. I was thinking of the other guy.
32, which is still,
yes,
in the context of playing left tackle, not young, but yet he's still.
Yeah, he's dominant.
I'd pay a lot of money to be able to move like that guy can at his size. I'll tell you that much.
That's the truth. But so essentially, right, he's really strong, but the right side of their offensive line actually gives up a lot of pressure. So an interesting matchup to watch there. Josh, your reaction to those stats about blitzes on both sides?
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. Brock Purdy is really good against the blitz, but there's been games, as I was looking earlier this week, where when it comes to more creative blitz and blitzes like Spags likes to do, has had a lot of trouble and has made a lot of turnovers. Going back to the Minnesota game, I think Brock Purdy threw a couple really costly interceptions against some disguised blitzes. So really keep an eye out for the way Spags is. He doesn't blitz like a typical defensive coordinator. He's really good at disguising blitzes and bringing people off the edge. So I think that'll be important. But yeah, it's really, this type of game is going to be a battle of the trenches, in which D-line can generate enough pressure to throw the other quarterback off of their game. Because both these quarterbacks, they've shown when they have time, they can make some fantastic plays. Obviously, we know Patrick Mahomes is going to make plays no matter what, but Brock Purdy, for all the doubt that he's gotten, he's made a lot of big plays this season too. So it's going to be a big sign of who's going to be able to generate more pressure.
He's been good. And I think the other thing that's a big factor, and I think definitely favors the Chiefs, is how good our secondary is with L'Jarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie. And then obviously you got Justin Reed at safety. Shamari Coney, the rookie, has played really well. And the other Chiefs defensive backs. The Chiefs have benefited from their coverage and have some of the reason that they're so high in sacks is some coverage sacks, because the coverage has been so good behind them. Those quarterbacks are holding the ball when those receivers are blanketed. So I'd also think that obviously the 49ers have lots of weapons with Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey catching the ball. But I think that if the Chiefs secondary can win some of those matchups, obviously it's going to allow that defensive line to get even more pressure on Brock Purdy. Purdy's good at getting the ball out quickly. And I think the Chiefs have the best secondary in the NFL. And so that's going to be a really interesting matchup to see what happens when the Chiefs take away his first read and maybe even his second read.
Yeah, gives the D-line time to pin their ears back and really go after him. So
yeah, and on the other side, the 49ers secondary isn't superb. They were 14th in the NFL in passing yards given up. And really, their secondary outside of former Chief Charvarius Ward isn't super impressive. Also, side note, Charvarius Ward said it's a lot better in San Francisco, that he likes it a lot more than when he was in Kansas City. And that was funny because the Chiefs have won a Super Bowl since he left, and they might beat him again, and he'll probably be eating those words. If the Chiefs, honestly,
we did. To be fair, we did win a Super Bowl with him. He did help us win our first Super Bowl. So no hate to Charvarius Ward, but there's just no way San Francisco is better than Kansas City. But he's still a fantastic player. But when it comes to their defense out in the secondary, it's really just him. There's a lot of other holes in their secondary that I think the Chiefs are going to be able to take advantage of.
Yeah, the next number that I think is worth knowing is some rushing statistics from the 49ers defense. They were third in the NFL in total rushing yards given up with only 1,525 yards. But I think this is the really interesting part of that I think that number is a little bit deceptive, because they're actually 14th in yards per carry at 4.1 yards per carry, which I think is a really good number and a good stat for us to look at when we think about Isaiah Pacheco and his ability to have a big game in this game. One of the reasons they gave up so few rushing yards is because they were often ahead in games, right? They didn't trail a lot. And so when they're up on teams, those other teams are more likely to abandon the run, throw the ball more, and probably is a reason that those rushing numbers are a little bit deflated, because teams threw against them so much. But I think it is a positive sign for the Chiefs that yards per carry, over 4 yards a carry, man, if Isaiah Pacheco can run for 4 or 5 yards a pop in this game, pun intended there, I really like the Chiefs' chances.
Yeah, no, I mean, we'll get to this here in a little bit, but that's one of my keys to the game is Pacheco eating up clock and really running the ball well, getting a lot of yards per carry, but really just getting him touches. So I think that's going to be huge. And Christian McCaffrey isn't incredible. But you're right. The 49ers have been able to be in the lead in a lot of games and have not actually run the ball nearly as effectively as the numbers show. So with the Chiefs defense, they have the work cut out for them with Omenihu out. we've got a big task in trying to stop Christian McCaffrey. So I think that's going to be a really big matchup to keep your eye on.
Yeah, McCaffrey is going to be fascinating. It's going to be really interesting to see, does Trent McDuffie end up getting matched up against him some in the ways the 49ers use him? McDuffie's so versatile. But then also, how do Nick Bolton, Willie Gay, and Drew Tranquil play in this game against McCaffrey? And obviously the other weapons that they'll use either in the backfield or in motion a lot. Our linebackers are going to have to play really well in this game. Just to stuff that run, because Shanahan definitely likes to run it early on downs. And then obviously to contain McCaffrey. McCaffrey's going to get touches and yards, but they just got to limit him from the 50, 60-yard chunk plays that just break the back of the defense.
Luke, side note, I was watching the highlights of the Chiefs' first Super Bowl against the 49ers right before this, and remembered that we had Reggie Ragland and Anthony Hitchens as our starting linebackers out there. And when you see Reggie Ragland out in coverage on Deebo Samuel, you just want to shake your head. So thank goodness for Brett Veach and the work that he's done to rebuild this defense. No hate to Reggie Ragland and Anthony Hitchens. They were great for what they were, but just a shout out to Brett Veach for the way that he has completely rebuilt this defense, and the fact that I think Chris Jones is our only returning player on the defensive side from that Super Bowl.
That's wild. Yeah.
Maybe I think that was Snead's rookie year. I can't remember, but almost a completely rebuilt defense.
Yeah, it's impressive for sure. Last number that I thought was interesting that I'll mention quickly, Patrick Mahomes in the Dome. This is from KC Sports Network via Pro Football Reference. Mahomes in a Dome is 11-0, 3,327 passing yards, 26 touchdowns, and 2 INTs. Spoiler, Vegas is a dome.
Wait. So you're saying that his odds are pretty good. His track record.
Yeah, I'm saying he's never
good.
Never lost in a dome. That's wild. Like, is it luck? Is it random? Is it that, like, when the conditions are perfect, he's just that much better? I don't know.
I thought he was a snow game guy personally. That's what he says.
Yeah, I don't know. He's a dome game guy, I guess.
Apparently.
Fun stat, crazy. I mean, the funny thing about some of the Mahomes stats, though, is like, whatever you look at, like, oh, what's Patrick Mahomes like in this, and this, and this? They're all just insane. Yeah. They're all good because he's won like 80% of his games, and all he does is win. I mean, it's nuts. It's nuts.
Like any stat I've seen of Mahomes, at most he has like 3 losses in some category, but it's always a ridiculous win percentage and a ridiculous passer rating. He's a freak.
I love it. Well, let's get into some Chiefs keys to victory. Yes, Josh.
Any other thoughts? Any other takeaways? I know we got my opinion on all these numbers, but give me some of your takeaways from looking at these numbers.
My biggest takeaway on these numbers is I'm just fascinated to see if the Chiefs' pressure impacts Brock Purdy. If Purdy is just nails against these blitzes, like, the Chiefs could be in trouble. They really could be. If Spagnuolo is cooking and the blitzes get home and the pressure forces sacks or mistakes, I really like the Chiefs' chances. I think this is really like how good are the 49ers and Brock Purdy at picking up the Chiefs' pressure, and what can they do with that? And then I think the other thing that we didn't talk about much there that I'll talk about in my keys is actually how good is Chris Jones and the defensive line in the run game against the 49ers? Because if we can put them in second and third and longs, well, that's when Spags really cooks, and that's when Jones just takes over games and can just blow up plays. Karlaftis gets these second effort sacks, and so I think those are going to be some of the keys there. Yeah, that's the matchup that I'm looking at is Spags bringing pressure versus Purdy handling pressure.
Yeah, and I think, Jones is going to be able to have a field day with especially the right side of their offensive line. Like, if we can keep him away from Trent Williams, I like the Chiefs' chances a lot. Anyways, keys to victory. Luke, give us your 3 to 5 keys.
Yeah, here's the first one, and this one sounds like a dub, but the defense hold the 49ers to 21 points or less. I will never bet against Patrick Mahomes, and the numbers indicate that this offense is not what it has been in the past. It was a middle of the road offense. This was not a top 2 or 3 offense, and although they had played better in the playoffs against the Ravens, they still put up just 17 points, 2 touchdowns and a field goal, and they never scored in the second half, right? So there's still that. Now they're not shooting themselves in the foot, which is one of my next keys. Is Mahomes and the offense continue to play mistake-free football. If the Chiefs don't turn the ball over in this game, it's hard for me to see them losing. Now, if they turn the ball over, or they have just some absolutely mind-boggling drops like they did earlier in the season, well, yeah, really quickly this game could get away from them. But if they play mistake-free football and the defense continues to play at the level that it has, it's hard for me to see the Chiefs losing this game if they hold the Niners to 21 or less points. I think the Chiefs can score 23, maybe 27 points on the high end in this game. And if they do that, I really like their chances to win. So hold the 49ers to 21 or less. Mahomes continues to play mistake-free football in the offense. And then I mentioned it. My third key is the defense, and specifically Chris Jones needs to stop the run on early downs. Jones has not been great against the run this season. I think there's multiple reasons there. I think one of the biggest reasons is his holdout cost him a lot of money. And then he came back with this incentive-laden contract that essentially caused him to be sack hunting, because sacks were how he was going to get those dollars. And his performance against the run, not going to impact his pay at all. And his numbers this year versus previous years against the run, significantly different. And I think
one quick note on that. It has been encouraging for me to see the difference in the way Chris Jones has shown up in the playoffs versus in the regular season. He showed up much more like a leader. You really saw it in that Baltimore game where, I mean, he was wrecking plays, but he was not just solely focused on going out and getting his and getting sacks. I think he's developed into, which is probably part of his incentive-laden contract. He's going to do whatever it takes to win the Super Bowl, because I think he's got, what, $1 million or $2 million on the line if he wins.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember off the top of my head. I know he got another $1 million after that AFC Championship victory. I expect him to be at his best in the run game. Obviously, it's the Super Bowl. He's gonna turn it on here. But I think his performance in the run game is key, because then second and third and long, he and Karlaftis can really get after Purdy. The fourth one is the O-line keeps Mahomes clean and controls Bosa. It was a crazy stat, and now I'm forgetting it, but until that Baltimore game, when Mahomes took a couple sacks intentionally to keep the clock running instead of throwing it away, he hadn't taken a sack in like 4 or 5 playoff games. He's been really good at avoiding sacks. And obviously, I think the offensive line is so much better than it was a few years ago when the Chiefs decided to remake that. This offensive line is not great, but it's solid. And honestly, the offensive tackles, they do hold a lot. They're first in the NFL and holding penalties, but I'd rather them get a holding penalty than let Mahomes get destroyed back there and obviously lose those yards and a down. But with that, they need to control Nick Bosa. The last time the Chiefs played the 49ers last season, regular season, that was a game. Mecole Hardman had 3 touchdowns in that game. And that was actually one of the things that the Chiefs did to counter the 49ers was they attacked Bosa's aggressiveness. He's really aggressive, likes to get upfield. And so they ran some jet sweeps by him and or under him and to counter his aggressiveness. And then also I would expect Andy Reid to use guys like Noah Gray, Blake Bell, or even Kelsey Pacheco at times to just chip Nick Bosa frequently to slow him down, give Mahomes more time, and open up that offense. And then the last one is I think Kelsey and Rice. They've got to combine for over 150 yards receiving, or at least that. If those guys combined for 150 yards receiving, this offense, I think, will be humming, and the Chiefs will be on their way to victory. Those are my 5 keys. Defense holds the 49ers under 21 or less points. Chris Jones helps stops that run, early downs, putting them in second and third and longs. Mahomes plays mistake-free football. The O-line keeps Mahomes clean and controls Bosa, and Kelsey and Rice over 150 yards receiving. And I like the Chiefs to win if they can accomplish those keys.
I like it. I'll be honest. My headphones cut out for about half of that, so I don't know fully what you said, but I'm sure it was
It's
great.
okay. It wasn't worth anything, not worth going back and listening to.
Oh,
Your
yeah,
keys,
that's
please.
happy to give you my keys. Key number one is going to be dialing in on that defense. I think if Snead or McDuffie force a turnover like they have been so adept at doing all season long, I think that's going to put us up in really good chances for winning this football game. It's exactly what you said. I mean, this feels a bit obvious, but when you win the turnover battle, you have a much higher likelihood of winning the football game. So I've never claimed to be a football savant, but there you go. That's some wise words from me. So yeah, I think Snead or McDuffie forcing a turnover and really just their matchup as a whole against these weapons is going to be crucial. I think the
Fun
next biggest
fact,
thing.
Trent McDuffie has never had an interception as a Chief to this point in his career. He's been involved in forced fumbles and fumble recoveries, but still no INTs. I would love it if he got his first one in the Super Bowl. Your
Well,
next key.
we'll talk about that in our prop bets.
That's right.
We won't, but I'll make a note to talk about it in our prop bets. My next key is Pacheco getting 15 plus carries and a touchdown. I think we've seen the evolution of this offense and to be a bit more of a run heavy and leaning into a 7th round pick like Isaiah Pacheco. And so if he gets the ball and is able to control the pace of the game, at least 15 carries, then I like our chances a lot, especially if he's able to find the end zone. I think we can't rely on Patrick Mahomes to just save the day like we have in years past. We know he can, but the Chiefs are at their best when they're playing consistent, balanced football and running the ball well. And then speaking of the run, the next key is exactly what you said. The defense has to keep McCaffrey in check and limit explosive plays. I mean, the 49ers have some unbelievable talent between Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, and George Kittle. And so if the Chiefs can just keep things in front of them like they have, they've given up very few explosive plays all season, but especially keeping McCaffrey in check. And like you said earlier, it's going to be unique to see whether it's McDuffie or our linebackers lining up with McCaffrey, whether he's in the backfield or coming out of the slot or something. So that's going to be big is keeping McCaffrey and some of their other stars in check and not allowing any big plays.
Yeah, agreed.
Key number 4, even though I just said we can't rely on Mahomes to come out and win the day, I think Mahomes is going to have to do Mahomes things. The 49ers are motivated and they're going to come out to play, and they're a good football team. They're really balanced across the board, especially with some of this defensive line and these linebackers. And so I think Mahomes is going to have to step up and make some big plays, especially with the pressure that Nick Bosa is going to find a way to get on him. He's going to be scrambling and running around the pocket a little bit. So he's going to have to do some Mahomes things and have one of those plays where you're just like, only Patrick Mahomes can do that. No one else on this planet can do that. Mahomes magic. And then the last one, playoff MVS. MVS has got to make a big play. Every game of the playoffs. Every game of the playoffs this year, MVS has made a big play, and he's going to make another one here. He is at least gaining enough trust from Mahomes to be that third, fourth option, whatever you want to call it, third option, especially outside of Kelsey and Rice. So I think we got one big play from MVS coming probably in the second quarter before halftime, if I had to guess, or if I had to make a bet.
You gotta love it. Yeah, that's right. The funny thing about MVS is like the last few games, his stat lines are just actually just very typical of him and his whole career. Like 2-3 catches, 60 yards. Like that's MVS in a nutshell. A touchdown every now and then. And that would have been him all year if not for getting the yips and dropping the ball. So, but props to him for sticking with it. It's fun to hear Mahomes, Reed, all the guys talk about him overcoming it and the trust they have in each other. That's why the Chiefs are special. Kelsey's been talking about it all week. He's like, man, this team is just special. It's different than years past and the way they've come together through their adversity. You got to love it. And with that, talking about media this week, Super Bowl media is just another level, man. You've got reporters in from everywhere. And let me just say, there are some dumb questions.
There's some interesting reporters who get in there.
Yeah. I'm like, man, how did you get credentials to this thing?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Next year.
So with that, yeah, the questions we would ask. With that, I want to play the 4 worst questions of media. One is actually a question that was asked to Brock Purdy, and then one to Kelsey, one to Mahomes, and one to Big Red Andy Reid. So I'll play this, And then I'd like to hear your reaction to this clip. We'll actually go ahead and we'll start with the Brock Purdy question that was asked, just because I love his reaction.
I haven't. That's my first time hearing it. Yeah. What do you think about that comparison? Physical comparison. I don't know.
If you couldn't hear that well enough, the reporter asked, "There's a picture going around comparing you and Lee Harvey Oswald, the assassin, and saying you look alike. What do you think about that comparison?" Brock Purdy's response.
I mean, it feels like this reporter lost a bet to ask a question like that. Like,
I wish I could have that. I wish that I could have that audio clip, and I may just save it and just send it to people when they ask me a question. I don't know about that. How else can you respond to that kind of question? Hey, you actually kind of look like someone who assassinated a president. Would you comment on that?
yeah, it's actually my dad.
Like, what do you want him to say? That the fact that he asked that question.
So funny.
Next question, and props to Mahomes for how he answers this. A reporter is going to ask Patrick Mahomes about his voice. Enjoy this clip.
What is your best Kermit the Frog impression? I'm talking right now. That's it.
If you missed it, what is your best Kermit the Frog impression? And Mahomes says, "I'm talking right now. That's it."
I love it. I mean, he embraces. You can tell he's kind of fed up with it, but he doesn't just like blow them off. He's like, oh, "I'm doing one right now." So
Yeah,
it's a bit playful by him, but you can tell he's annoyed by it.
Mahomes has a unique voice. He admits it. He embraces it. But again, I'm like the reporter that you're talking to one of the biggest icons in the world right now in professional sports, and the question you want to ask him is, "Can you impersonate Kermit the Frog?" Like that's the best question you can come up with.
Well, here's the deal. You got to think about it. Put yourself in these reporters' shoes. There's hundreds of them in front of that person. Everyone's trying to come up with like a unique way to ask a football question. Like, you're going to get called on and get attention if you ask a weird one. And they're in front of these media people for a long time. So there's plenty of time for other questions to get asked. He probably had his real question stolen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a bit of a tangent, but I was listening to a press conference from Mahomes earlier this season, and I could be totally wrong here, but I feel like his voice has been getting a little bit more normal. Your thoughts?
I have no idea. I mean, I've listened to almost every single press conference from this year. I haven't noticed a change in the voice.
I feel
Maybe
like
it's your hearing. You do have hearing problems. For the audience,
but
you might not know this. Josh had a cholesteatoma. That's a real thing. You can Google it. No way you spell it right, though. Josh had one of those things in his ear, so he lost part of his hearing. So that might be why he thinks Mahomes' voice has changed. It just might be his hearing.
Could be. I don't know. I think it's changed. I think he's got a voice coach coaching him on how to speak a little bit more normally.
Maybe you're right. I'll tell my story.
Honestly, that's a good segue into Big Red's question, conspiracy.
Yeah, and well, before that, I'd just like to give a shout out to one of our members in the chat, Kalen. He said he has a great Kermit impression, and Kalen, I'm sure that you do. We'd love for you to send that in. Maybe send that to us via email. You can email team@kcfootballfix.com. We'd love to get your Kermit the Frog impression out there, just to compare it with Patrick's there. And Kalen also said, "Bad take. It hasn't changed," in reference to Patrick Mahomes' voice. So myself and Kalen in agreement there. Josh, I don't think Mahomes' voice has changed at all. And moving on quickly. Third worst question. Question for Travis Kelce. Listen to this.
Who's getting a ring first, the Niners or Taylor?
I'm hoping I get this ring on Sunday. I know that.
If you missed it, the reporter says, "Who's getting a ring first, the Niners or Taylor?" And he says, "I'm just hoping I get this ring on Sunday."
Well, could there be 2 rings on Sunday? That's the question. We'll talk about it later in the prop bets.
I'm just like, that's and he like that guy obviously thought about asking that question in that specific way for so long and was so proud of that question. And Kelsey's response is just money, absolutely money. I'm just hoping I get the ring. Like, dude, he and Mahomes, like we said, Reed is so good at training these dudes in the media. And then obviously I think Mahomes and Kelsey should get some credit. They're just good on camera and good on their feet because that was an impressive response. And with that, Big Red, the master of the media, the master at saying a lot and saying nothing at the same time, had to answer one of the most ridiculous questions I have ever heard in my life. And let's take a listen to it.
Coach, right here.
Yep. Gotcha.
Question from Germany.
Yes.
As you said before, times have changed a lot. The internet, mobile phones. What do you say about the conspiracies that have popped up concerning Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, like some kind of Republican conspiracies that you guys made it into the Super Bowl to actually secretly re-elect or help re-elect President Biden?
That's way out of my league.
Andy Reid goes on to say, yeah, we met Biden last year, referencing after they won the Super Bowl, and then say, yeah, Taylor Swift's been great. Your reaction to that question, Josh?
What's crazy is that reporter asking the question was not the first time I had heard that conspiracy theory. There's actually a lot of people that are talking about how, and this is with Travis Kelce being the face of Pfizer's COVID and flu shot vaccine and Taylor Swift being a pretty outspoken Biden supporter. They're talking all about how Travis Kelce is going to win the Super Bowl MVP. Taylor Swift is going to come up and they're going to publicly endorse Joe Biden on the mic in front of the whole world. So yeah, that's not the first time I've heard that conspiracy theory, but I mean, I don't think they care that much. I think that Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are just going to, Travis just wants to go out and play football. I don't think he cares that much. And he's just trying to make his bag however he can with all these commercials. I don't think he's trying to be the face of the COVID vaccine and endorse Joe Biden.
The internet is a fascinating place, man. That's what we should take away from this. Wow. A dark hole, man. Wow. What a question. The NFL is just a conspiracy. Also, a reporter asked Roger Goodell, like, hey, some people think the NFL is scripted. And like Taylor Swift, all that stuff. And Roger Goodell was like, I couldn't even script this. Like, this is crazy. Yeah, so shout out to Roger. That was a good response too. All right, moving on from dumb media questions. And Josh, I'll let you take it away. Let's get into some of the best Super Bowl bets, game bets, and then some unique prop bets that you can get a little action on for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we'll bring up our game bets first. Some of the top ones that we are seeing: Patrick Mahomes over 0.5, or I'm sorry, under 0.5 interceptions. He has yet to turn the ball over in the postseason, and he is just insane. So if you're looking for a really safe bet, the odds are -120 for Mahomes under 0.5 interceptions. And then another very safe one is Harrison Butker over in field goals made. Right now, the over is 1.5. Butker all season has been making at least 2 to 3 field goals a game. He has 33 on the season and has been pretty money. So another really safe bet.
Yeah, I take him to hit at least 2 field goals in this game.
Yeah, at least. An interesting under is Nick Bosa, the under on sacks. Right now, they only have him at 0. They have him at 0.5 picks, and a lot of people are taking the under, or 0.5 sacks. A lot of people are taking the under at -130. So Bosa's had a sack or more in 8 of his 19 games this season. 2 games where he's had half a sack. And Patrick Mahomes was number 2 in the NFL behind Josh Allen in terms of sack avoidance when pressured on dropbacks. So pretty interesting one. And Nick Bosa, the under. A lot of people are taking it. Let's see here. Luke, your thoughts?
I would be hesitant to actually bet on the Mahomes under on the INTs just because like so much can happen and somebody can throw one pick, right? Like, I mean, we saw it We saw it this year. Mahomes can throw a perfect pass to yours truly, Kadarius Toney. Hashtag, I think I'm still number one wide receiver, and it goes right through his hands, picked off. Right. So I would hesitate to take that. If that number was like 1.5, it'd be like, oh, jump all over that. But he could totally throw one pick on something fluky. Bosa, half a sack. That one, oof. I wouldn't feel confident taking that one. He's so good. Will he get home on Mahomes once? Wouldn't surprise me. But also, I can see Andy Reid and the offensive line just putting Bosa in a blender all game, just wrecking his night. Those Bosa brothers are whiny, and he could be throwing a fit on the field.
Yeah. If you're looking for other safe prop bets, Mahomes at MVP is an easy one right now. His odds are plus 120 for MVP. And then let's see, another real safe one we got is Kansas City in the first sack recorded. As we talked about earlier, the Chiefs have been number 2 in the NFL in sacks, and the 49ers are 14th, Luke, if you have that in front of you. So the odds of the Chiefs getting the first sack recorded, you're going to make some money on that one. But now on to more fun prop bets. Luke, any more thoughts on these?
Yeah, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but if I was going to take an anytime TD score in this game, Travis Kelce's the sexy pick, but I like Isaiah Pacheco to get into the end zone at some point in this game.
Mm-hmm. Man, yeah, you can't go wrong with that one. Honestly, I would another safe one is Deebo Samuel, anytime TD. I feel very confident about him scoring a touchdown on this defense, but that's probably the only touchdown they score.
You heard it here first.
Hot take. Well, on to some better prop bets, ones that these are the type of bets that I would make. First one is, will Usher bring out a guest? Current favorites for bringing out a guest during the halftime show are Alicia Keys at minus 320 from Usher's hit song, My Boo. Actually, Luke has a fantastic cover of that. If any of y'all ever want to hear it, his version is better than Usher's. And then Ludacris at minus 210 with their song, Yeah.
Fun fact. This was fascinating. I learned this today. Learned something totally new. Did you know Super Bowl show halftime performers do not get paid?
Really?
Fact. They don't get paid. However, the NFL gives them, I think it was a $50 million budget for their halftime performance. And they spend that on hiring people to help the performance happen, paying people to work on it or to be in it. But actually, a lot of the performers end up spending millions of dollars of their own money on the performance.
Really?
Wild. Yeah, I'll share this Twitter thread with you. This guy, I think his name's Joe. Awesome Twitter thread. I got to find it sometime. But yeah, many of them actually spend their own money on their performances. And for example, like Justin Timberlake, after he performed the halftime show, whatever year that was, I mean, his sales skyrocketed after that. So the artists do it just because the exposure is so massive that it's going to return on investment for them because they're in front of like 15 million eyeballs or whatever it is. I mean, it's the most watched TV event in our country, right? And so they'll do it and even spend on it just for the exposure because Usher, after this halftime show, his streaming numbers, his sales, like they're just going to shoot through the roof. So they just use it as an opportunity to capitalize on their music and business ventures, which I thought was fascinating. I had no idea. I assumed they got paid millions for that performance.
I'm actually shocked right now and a little bit crazy that the NFL is probably just keeping more millions of dollars in revenue by not paying those performers. That's crazy.
Yeah, but it's a win-win.
Do you think Justin Timberlake grew in so much popularity and all of his merch sales and everything because he was at the Super Bowl or because of the wardrobe malfunction?
What?
You don't remember Justin Timberlake's wardrobe?
Did he have one?
No, it was what's her face?
You're talking about Janet Jackson, buddy. That was a long time ago.
Justin Timberlake was out there with her.
Was he?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't remember that. Honestly, I was so young, and I'm pretty sure my mom made us turn off the halftime show that year. Good thing.
I went and watched it.
Shout
later.
out, Mom.
Yeah, I watched it like 4 years later when I was allowed to. I'm kidding.
Oh, scarred.
I
Yeah,
think my mom. I think my mom's watching
protected
this. So
Yeah. um, on that note, this is a special segment because it needs to be
What-
hashed out.
are you skipping over all the rest of my fun? All the rest of my good prop bets?
Well, okay, fine.
Let me.
Do one more of one more of good one.
Okay, I'll do two. I'll do two more. Some of the other favorites are we talked about earlier. Will Travis Kelce propose after the game? Yes is at plus 820, and meanwhile no is at minus 2,000. If you're not familiar with how betting works, you could bet $2,000 to win 100. So don't take the no, but I mean, if it does happen, if Travis proposes, you're going to win a lot of money. And then the next one is everyone's favorite. Will Jason Kelce be shirtless? Right now, the odds are minus 175 at Jason Kelce shirtless, plus 125 at him chugging a beer. Don't know the odds on him chugging a beer shirtless, but that could be a good one to bet on too.
Yeah. Wow, that's a fascinating bet. You'd be on the edge of your seat if you bet on Jason Kelce. That's good. Here's the surprise segment. I will call this wide receiver roulette. Wide receiver roulette. So if you didn't know, Sky Moore was just activated off IR today. That does not mean he will play in the Super Bowl. It just simply means that the Chiefs could activate him on game day if they choose to. The corresponding move was Charles Omenihu to IR after his torn ACL. Big loss to the Chiefs. Feel bad for Charles, but Sky Moore might play. All right, so there's one wide receiver. Kadarius Toney is healthy. And in case you missed it, Kadarius Toney said to the media on Monday night at the opening night that he believes he's a number one wide receiver if he gets the ball. He also said some
confidence is key.
Confidence is key. He also said some very confusing things about his Instagram live video from a week or so ago when he seemed to insinuate that he wasn't actually injured. And at one point he said, yeah, we talk about things in reference to if things were resolved with him and the Chiefs. So Kadarius Toney has been practicing this week, and who knows? Maybe he's active on game day. Maybe he's not. And then obviously we have our good friend Mecole Hardman on the squad as well. I'm going to take MVS out of this conversation because MVS has redeemed himself this year. So congratulations, MVS.
And these
4
these
weeks
three
ago,
players,
you were in this conversation, and now you're not.
These three players are pretty much all just a different version of the exact same player. Like they all do very similar things. MVS is a little bit different. So
yeah. So here's the situation. First of all, one of these wide receivers must be active for the Super Bowl. Who do you take?
Mecole, 100%.
Easy. Yeah, my choice too. Okay, that one's easy. Here's the hard one. It's 3rd and 6. The Chiefs are down 23-20. There's a minute 15 left in the game. One of these guys is on the field, lined up, and the play is going to be for them. They've got to catch a ball, crossing route over the middle of the field. Who do you want catching that ball in the Super Bowl or attempting to catch that ball?
It has to be a crossing route over the middle of the field.
Yeah.
Okay, because if I'm picking the play, I'm going screen pass to Kadarius Toney. He can pick up 6 yards easy.
Or he might go backwards 6 yards.
That's true. But Sky wouldn't even get open on a screen pass. So I'm going to throw Sky Moore out of the equation. He's not going to get open on a screen pass, and he sure as hell won't get open on a crossing route.
Yeah, that's true.
I hate that I'm going to say this. I'm going to take Kadarius Toney.
That's insane. You're insane.
I'm going to take KT.
I'm about to kick you off right now.
What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results.
Oh,
KT is going to redeem himself. He's going to make a play.
Prediction, he's not even going to be active for this game.
No,
he will be a healthy scratch for this game. Will not be on the field at all. Reed does not trust him at all. Mahomes doesn't trust him at all. Here's why you don't choose Kadarius Toney. Crossing route over the middle, he drops it. It goes right through his hands. We already saw it this year, and it's an interception. You don't choose Sky Moore. You nailed it because the dude literally cannot separate, can't get open. And so that just default, Mecole Hardman wins this wide receiver.
I don't think Mecole Hardman has ever run a crossing route. I don't think he's ever run a crossing route.
But let's do it. You know, if that's what we got to do, I don't want Kadarius Toney on the field on that play. And if Sky Moore is on the field, that's fine. But the truth is, he's just not going to get open, and so it's worthless. So we're going to have to throw it to McCall in that situation. Game on the line, and again, Kadarius Toney, he's inactive, street clothes, so we won't have to worry about him dropping it or handing it to the other team.
I honestly think that I could get open better than Sky Moore could, and I am not what you call an athlete.
Yeah, I don't think so, but that's a good take. Oh, wow. This has been fun. The Chiefs are playing in the Super Bowl on Sunday. Before we wrap it up, we need to get some Super Bowl picks and predictions. We said last week we reserved the right to change our prediction this week based off our in-depth analysis, game steady, and football savvy. So, Josh, I'll let you start off. First off, I'd like you to give us your score prediction, then give us your surprising performer prediction, and finally, your MVP prediction.
You got it, buddy. Score prediction. I don't remember what I said last week. Luke, you can pull it up and fact check me while I am saying this. Chiefs 27, 49ers 21. I believe I said 27-24 last week, but I like the Chiefs winning by almost a touchdown by 6 points. 27-21. I think that the Chiefs defense is just too good to give up anything more than 21 points, and even 21 points feels like a bit of a stretch. The defense has just been nails the entire season. So that's my prediction. Surprising performer prediction is Noah Gray, 3 catches for 77 yards. I think that the 49ers are going to be really focused on trying to take away, obviously, Rashee Rice, and they're probably going to be doubling Kelsey a lot with their linebackers. So I think Noah Gray is going to have a sneaky performance, 3 catches for 77 yards, set us up for some big plays down the road. Then my MVP prediction, it's a given. Patrick LeVon Mahomes. Why would you bet against him? He's going to go out and he's going to play unbelievable. He's going to throw for, I'm thinking, 23 of 29 for 320 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Those are some stats. I like it.
I'm gonna go back to 2 touchdowns because I also have Isaiah Pacheco scoring a touchdown. So
yeah, you can't. That you want 3, 4. That's too many. Score predictions. I'm gonna take the Chiefs in this game. 23-17. Chiefs win. Over on the Butker field goals. Obviously, he's going to hit 3 of them. 23-17. Chiefs win this game. Surprising performer in this game. I actually like old CEH, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the future nurse, to have a couple big plays in this game. Maybe pop off one big run, pop off a big screen. You got to love Clyde's redemption this year as well. The first-round draft pick. Lots of guys down on him, but everyone's talked about it. That dude's worked really hard. And I like Clyde to bust a couple big plays in this game or just timely plays. There's going to be a play where Clyde, man, like that dude came through in the clutch this year. And finally, MVP prediction.
Here's a quick question. Does Clyde play well enough to get himself onto the team next year?
Clyde will be on this team next year, I believe, because he still has 1 year left on his contract, right? And it's cheaper for the Chiefs to keep him than cut him.
I thought that we had to decide if we wanted to pick up his option or not, but maybe he has 1 more year before we pick up his 5th round option or 5th year option.
I don't know. We got to do more research. We apologize to the audience. We got to do better. Got to know our stuff. And MVP prediction. Yeah.
You want to pick Kelsey.
It would be a love story. Some might say if he won MVP. It would be an amazing moment. However, my heart is telling me Kelsey, but my mind is saying you just can't bet against Mahomes. If the Chiefs win this game, Mahomes is going to play well, and he's the dude. He wins MVP again, and the Chiefs win 23-17. And
I really thought we were gonna get through this episode without a Taylor Swift reference.
I had to, and I feel good about it because I'm embracing it. It's great. There's more women watching the sport, and we got to love that. And Travis is happy, and we can all be happy about that.
We can. And I guess we'll see if the conspiracy comes true after the game.
Yeah. Andy Reid will be answering questions if it does. Well, that does it for this episode of the KC Football Fix podcast. Go to kcfootballfix.com to subscribe to the newsletter. Get the latest Chiefs news in your inbox every weekday morning for free. I'm your host, Luke Gromer, joined by my co-host, Josh Willis. We'll see you next time, and go Chiefs.